right now. Very pleased to have with us in studio from the Daily Caller, Jessica Stanton. Jessica, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for coming down here. What we learned when we sent a female reporter shopping for a home defense handgun. Are you that female reporter?
I am that female reporter, I must admit.
Okay. Now, what was this an assignment, or was this something that you were already thinking about doing?
Well, I had thought about it before, but it was actually an assignment that Mike Pacino, my fantastic editor for Guns and Gear at Daily Caller, had approached me about. Because I only had just recently purchased my first handgun and gone through this process. And we thought, what a unique idea to really write about it and go through it again, except for more extensively, and kind of document the process, especially from a female's perspective, and write about it. So as soon as he approached me about it, I just enthusiastically accepted.
Okay, so what were you looking for?
I was looking for, I would try not to mention any specific handgun. I would just, my premise that I came in with was, I'm a first-time gun buyer, and I'm looking for a weapon for home defense, but with the ability to be able to use for concealed carry down the road, potentially. And I'd give them a budget of between $500 and $600, and I'd really let them take it from there for what they showed me. But it just so happened that really every store that I went to in the DC metro area recommended 9mm handguns for those stated purposes.
Everyone?
Everyone, yeah, which was pretty surprising, especially for my editor. He was very shocked that they didn't show me any revolvers. Although I noticed that in the showrooms for a lot of these stores, they really didn't have a large selection of revolvers. So I don't know if that played into the reason why they weren't showing me those, but it really was 9mm that they presented to me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And by the way, how was the selection of 9mm?
It was decent. Now, I noticed that most of them had particular brands that they would show me, and that would be really it. So, for instance, one store really just stuck with the Glocks and then the Smith & Wessons. Another store showed me the Glocks and then the Walthers. So they really just, there's only one store that really kind of showed me all of them. They had like a Ruger, the Glocks, the Walthers, Smith & Wessons, Beretta.
Okay, and so I know for people who've never bought a gun before, they're going in the first time. You don't want to look like a newbie. You don't want to look stupid. But here's the thing: don't pretend to be something that you're not. If this is your first time, let somebody know. No one's going to think badly about you. They're going to be happy that you're letting them know.
No, that was my overall experience too. With all these people, I've really found that people in the gun industry, they really love what they do, and they're passionate about it and enthusiastic about it, and they really want to share that passion with you. And they're there to answer any questions that you have and to really educate you.
Yeah, absolutely. So did you narrow it down? I mean, how did you actually make your choice? So
I made the choice. I really just, the Glocks were the most recommended handguns to me, and I just felt most comfortable with that. That seemed to fit my hand the best, which, as you know, is a very important factor, especially for home defense purposes. You want to have a gun that you can securely grip, especially in a high-stress situation, that just feels firm in your hands and you can access it quickly. And the slide spring stiffness, too, was another thing that they had me practice with, and that really also just really solidified in my mind, okay, I can operate this efficiently and effectively, and it's a great brand, and it's also, a lot of the stores touted, of course, all the torture tests that Glocks have gone through,
right,
and all the YouTube videos and whatnot. So that appealed to me as well. So that's really, and just the fact that was the first gun that most all the stores immediately showed me. So
now, how many times have you been out to the range with it?
I've been about a dozen times.
Nice.
Yeah. So I've gotten a lot of practice with it now and really enjoyed it. And now that's one thing that I purchased my handgun before I had actually tried. Well, I tried it on the range once.
Okay.
But I wish I had gone more. And I think that was one thing that a lot of the gun stores stress, that when you're making this decision, you should not only go home and do your own research, but also go out to the range and actually test it out, because you're not going to know for sure until you actually try shooting it if it's the right gun for you.
Absolutely. So I got to ask, A, what kind of reaction has your article gotten online, and B, what kind of reaction has your article gotten in the rest of your world, like the people you interact with, face to face?
It's gotten a tremendous reaction. It led the site at Daily Caller for 2 days. All weekend it was up, and it was trending at the top 5 story on the site. And Women's Outdoor News picked it up, Gunwire picked it up, a bunch of different blog sites picked it up. I know your great producer sent it out to a bunch of different sites as well. So it's done really well. And then within my own life, I've had a lot of people, friends of mine that didn't know that I went through this process, approach me about it and just thought it was a really neat experience, and kind of inspired them to, if they're making, because especially right now with the looming legislation that's coming on, and a lot of people are making that first decision to arm themselves, and so they really thought that this provided a basic blueprint that they could use when they're going through the process themselves.
Do you ever get any grief from people your age about your gun ownership, or do most people think, oh, that's cool?
Most people think it's cool, although I will say that on college campuses, they don't, like, if I have the stance that I should be allowed to carry on campus. And that's one thing that George Mason does not allow. And with something like that, most people, that's a polarizing stance, I would say, that most people seem to disagree with, because they still just hold the viewpoint that, guns are dangerous, and, they don't understand that could actually potentially save your lives in situations, for instance, like if there had been a gun owner at the Virginia Tech shooting, that could arm themselves and fight back.
Yeah, but generally speaking, it sounds like you don't find a lot of anti-gun attitudes.
I really don't know. Most people, they might spit back the stance that, oh, well, we need to have stricter background checks and all this. But when it comes down to it, I think most people just agree that we have to do something about mental health in this country. And I think most people my age are concerned about the mental health aspects of it versus, just broad range of just background checks that are super extensive. And especially in Virginia, the fact that, for concealed carry, in order to carry, you have to go through a course, and you have to be a certain age, and you really have to put the time into it. So I think most people understand that there already are significant hurdles you have to jump in order to become a gun owner.
Well, and I imagine you probably pop a lot of thought bubbles when people run into you and you start talking about this, and people realize, oh, Jessica's a gun owner. Oh, I thought it was just a bunch of like old guys with big bellies and big beards. I thought it was like the Duck Dynasty guys.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, I think I definitely surprised people that I'm a gun owner, and then when they listen to me, and I really, as you can tell, I come from a political background, and also, I'm right there with them to get in the argument and really push them on that. But that's the main thing. I think that a lot of people they hear the simple like mainstream media narrative about it, and they haven't really actually thought about the issue. And when you really press them on it, that's when they really start to say, oh, well, hey, wait a minute, maybe I don't agree with all that the Democrats or the mainstream media is trying to push, and maybe I should actually, consider other people's opinions about this.
Well, I thought it was interesting because we've seen a number of polls that show young voters are actually the least likely age demographic to support things like a ban on semi-automatic firearms. And I don't know if that's just because, people under the age of 40 sort of grew up with that being the norm. But, the president's strongest allies, it seems like in the court of public opinion, have often been young voters, but it doesn't seem like they're with him on this
No,
issue.
I don't think they are. I think a lot of it has to do, too, with just the culture, from movies to music and whatnot. It's just, I don't think young people are really afraid of guns as kind of you get the feeling from when strong gun control advocates express it, kind of make it seem like it's a scary thing and whatnot. And I think most understand that, it's not really.
Right.
And yeah, just like I've been saying, when they get pressed on the issue, they just see the illogical elements of the argument for gun control.
Interesting. Well, all right, you going to be writing more about this topic?
Yes, yeah, hopefully. I really just, over the past couple months, I've been writing a lot more articles for the guns and gear section. I've really enjoyed it. So I'm a beginner myself, but I love it, and yes, I hope to continue.
That's cool.
It.
So you didn't grow up in a gun-owning family?
Well,
Did you grow up
my
shooting?
parents did not own guns or go hunting or anything like that. Now, my grandparents did, and so every Thanksgiving, I would go hunting with them. But that was about the extent of my experience with it. No one in my family had handguns, no one in my immediate family. So I really only started with that when I made the decision to go get my concealed carry permit, which I actually did through the NRA, and I highly recommend.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, it was a great experience.
Fantastic. All right. Well, listen, Jessica, it was great having you in studio. Please come back.
Of course. I would love to.
And keep up the great work of the Daily Caller.
Yes.
Jessica Stanton joining us here on the program in studio.